something that really I found myself just glowing about in day one. Professions.
As chat has gotten into, there are a lot of asterisks with this, such as alchemy not really working.
It broke.
But yeah, it broke, and it's broke in more ways than Blizzard acknowledged. It's broke. But over time, things will be better.
Yeah, I guess the thing that we want to talk about is the overall design. The overall design.
It's a game now. Professions is a game.
That's what they may as well call this. World of Warcraft. It's a game now.
Yeah, World of Warcraft. Our game designers realized they were game designers and designed a game.
Yeah,
that's it.
So, okay, I'll cover quickly my experience with it first. I went for skinning because I knew I'd be killing things that had skin, and I may as well right-click on them. And tailoring, because my character's a priest. And I thought, okay, well, I'll get cloth from humanoids. I will make some gear for myself. Okay, how did that basically go? Well, skinning was satisfying. There are definitely, there's a lot more depth. There's the whole refining of your resources that you can do. I'll have to work out what the economics of all those things are, but it basically does feel better. Obviously, where the most good is happening is in the crafting professions, and that's where I found I've very rapidly been able to make these patterns at a higher quality level, which immediately gives me higher item level gear I can equip in my character. Oh, and all of these bits of crafted gear that, I'm getting just from killing mobs. Right? Because it's cloth. In the same way that, if you're a blacksmith, you'd probably take mining and probably run across some nodes.
Hopefully. There's not that many.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm upgrading my character's gear. And, you obviously could have been doing that sort of thing before, but the minutia of it just means it actually makes sense to do. You've got all the first time, the first time craft bonuses. Those feel good. Yeah. And the thing about the game and the way that it works with the, with the renown is you're not worried about hitting level cap too soon.
No, because leveling is, and this is one thing, leveling has been outside of if you're really starved for time and want to get your first week of Mythics because you can only play a couple hours, like a week, you probably shouldn't be too worried about being efficient in that point. But it's leveling has been entirely superfluous. If you're level 69 as opposed to 70, there's almost nothing you can't do in terms of the core non-gear progression. And that's they've made leveling irrelevant largely in a way that people are always wondering what's the point of leveling. And they clearly internally went, that's a very good question. And then designed the game around not having to be important. You're like, brilliant.
Yeah. It's the way that it is for me now with the tailoring. But, I'm doing on more of a casual basis, but, I'm moving into my specialization. So right now it's outerwear. And that means that when the time comes, I'll be able to make I think its base eye level is 386, but the primal gear, basically the good tier of crafted gear that, once I make that, if I go and I get some more resources, I can recraft it for minimal cost with the upgraded item level and, secondary stats, whatever. From those, in my case, rating resources that I get, essentially acting like a wholly deterministic backstop for gearing. Yeah, there's a bit of a throttle to some of that with a spark of ingenuity, but overall, it seems like a significantly better system than, I guess, RNG backstops that we've had before, and gearing, profession stuff that we've had before. I feel like I can actually make really good shit. And certainly, if I was a player who wasn't engaging in, the Mythic dungeons or the raids, I can still do pretty well. Being a crafter, and the work order system really supports all of that.
Yeah, I think...
Big picture, excellent.
Yeah, we're not going to feel that until we're a couple of weeks into the season and people are crafting gear with their sparks and having the materials to craft stuff.
Closest we've got's the Titan Training Matrix 4s.
Yeah, and generally speaking, it's actually having the specialization to go in feels great, especially because the specialization for skinning as well is fucking wonderful. Because I'm specialized in finding species specific stuff. Because I realized that would be good for I think it was armor kits. I wanted to specialize in armor kits so I can actually make some fucking money this expansion instead of being perpetually poor. But going to get specialization knowledge through the curious hides that drop from skinning, and then going, well, I'll skin like crazy, and then you check your skinning journal and says, you won't be able to find any more curious hides this week because you've capped yourself on your weekly knowledge. I'm like, good. I don't have to skin forever. I can skin
Now
for
I
bingo.
know.
Yeah, I feel happy. And that's like visible in the game. And then there's like others. Worse, it was at the point where Thaldraszus meets the Waking Shores, the little watery bit in the canyon, and that's where Tuskar fishing hole was. And I was just in the fishing hole and like, what's this about? The fishing hole, I can fish, get some stuff, sweet, cool. And then I flew with it, I was like, who's that? And it was just an NPC chilling. Flew down, oh, it's a Master Skinner? I was like, I think it was a troll. I was like, all right, spoke to them. And my dialogue option was any tips. And they were like, oh yeah, you'll want to like do this. And it was like something about like leaving bait out. And I was like, oh cool. But I just got 10 skinning specialization knowledge for that. I went and found a master of skinning in the world accidentally and then clicked them, and then they were like, here's some tips. And those tips have a gameplay system to be represented in a way that felt tangible to me and like a bonus. And then I got them go, oh, well now I'll get more resources from going and skinning my thunder lizards. I'm like, it's a video game.
That bit when
It's a fucking video game.
You talked about the little small decisions being right
Yeah.
almost all the time. You initially brought it up to me in the context of how the quests for doing a dungeon, the quests give you a selection of loot from that dungeon that scales to your character level, and how that was well implemented. And it's like, yeah, this is just another example of the little small decision that you wouldn't really think about, but is actually impactful to your experience. It was made very well.
Yeah, that's... Everything has had a little bit of love and a little bit of care to it.
Yeah, and
Damn near everything except obviously alchemy's
Okay.
not working. There's a couple of things that people are worried about with crafting stuff. At a base design level, I think it'll be okay. It's all about how people will feel about it in regards to it being a, like you say, deterministic, like a backup for gearing. If it'll feel that way, if people like give enough money for commissions and tips and stuff for the crafting, then it'll work out okay, as long as it's not completely, I guess controlled by a small number of people. But then the crafting order limitation's there for that. So as long as you people can actually engage with it once they get the reagents, and that will be very, very good. Very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess the other thing then is, we did talk about the Mythic World Tour as a thing to do.
Dungeons are good as fuck.
So the Mythic World Tour, as it pertains to those, to the crafting, right? Anybody can get a Titan Training Matrix rank 4 from the final boss of a Mythic Zero dungeon. Now, that is a optional reagent that will increase crafting difficulty for the blue quality crafting gear, not the epic stuff that will eventually be as strong as raid gear, right? The blue stuff. It increases the difficulty of that, and it increases its item level to 372. Now, that essentially means that every single one of these end bosses essentially drops a eye level 372 of your choice token. Because
with an economic cost attached, of course, but yes.
Well, let's think about what the economic cost is. Because that gear is not particularly expensive to make in terms of raw materials. And so, I think that's fairly attainable, even just with the gold you're passively generating in the game. Even if you are just, even if you just pick up skinning an herb or mining or something, and, you just click on things as you go through the world and then sell them the AH and don't think about it. If you are doing that, use Auctionator, by the way. Very good add-on for that.
Very good for selling, yeah.
Headspace. I use it for selling. It's awesome.
Yep.
Then it's like, hey, what if I want a 372 staff? I want a 372 set of legs? Whatever. It's there. And if you don't have the crafting profession, make a work order. Supply the resources. Done. Like,
buy the resources, then split them.
When you're doing Mythic Zero dungeons, you get a Mythic Zero loot token, potentially. Yeah. And that's what it is. Maybe people don't appreciate it as being that because it's tied into the profession system. And, there's a lot of new stuff to the profession system. It can be a little bit to wrap your head around, especially if you're not used to, professions in WoW, which a lot of people aren't. It just feels way better. Like, that's so much better for the professions, for the economy, for the overall positioning of gearing in the game. So we do have a quick super from Stogie, who said, still no attention to archaeology. Not so, thankfully.
Well, I mean, yet. Right now.
So there is attention from the developers in what they have said publicly. So They've said that basically we can expect something on that front, and given the context of that statement, it very much sounded to me like one of the patches for this expansion will have archaeology. And in the past, Blizzard had said that they would like to do archaeology as a update in this expansion, and they also said that if archaeology does come back to the game, that it will not be in the form that it had before. So to be honest, for me, that is all just music to my ears. Perhaps through the A plot, we maybe learn something new, about the Titans, about what, the sort of mythological backdrop of the world is. And maybe that could come along with the Dragonscale expedition, being the way that we are introduced to a new archaeology system in the game.
Makes sense.
That would make sense. That's obviously not super hard confirmed. They basically said it in an interview. So, I'm totally with you. I would like more with archaeology. I think archaeology, and that sort of, if you were to have a scale or something of like potential to current execution, archaeology is like not good in execution, off the charts in terms of potential.
Seriously,
for like an MMO with a big rich world. So yeah, I really hope we do get that with archaeology, and I would be surprised and disappointed if we didn't, based on how they've talked about it thus far.
Absolutely. Same with like all the secondaries at the minute, because you look at how all the crafting ones go. Why is this not for fishing and cooking? And the only answer is they haven't had time yet. And they go, well, that means either some point this expansion or next expansion, you'll see cooking with the same specializations and stuff as leatherworking and all the crafting stuff. Yeah. You go, well, that sounds fucking great. I'll have that, please.
I think mostly with fishing, it's just like that as a skinner, you can make different lures, I guess. Isn't that what it is?
No, those are just specific bait for you drop them on the ground and bring big monsters in. So
I'm really... I didn't really look into that. I assumed it was just... Okay, so it was just straight up bait off for fishing.
Yeah, it's fishing. Fishing has fishing nets now from the Iskara Tuskar, where you can put a net down, automatically get fish. And a couple other different things of you go into a fishing hole and
the holes, yeah.
You capture, basically you restock the holes through going and picking up fish and then flying over with your mount and throwing them back in. And you can, whenever you fish stuff up, you can turn it back in to fill it up. And you can basically like fish like crazy to get ominous conches, which you can use to summon a lunker, which you can spear with this car stuff. So there's some stuff of that there. But that is with, apparently there are fishing lures too. I didn't see that, so
okay.
So we're both right. And also both
Yay!
wrong. Wonderful. Yeah, so there's some extra fishing stuff that's just not baked into the actual thing itself, which is cool because I was recently looking going, I need to go get the underlight angler. And then I realized how much fishing I had to do and went, with downtime and Dragonflight, I'll do that. I won't do it. No, fuck that.
From Stoji. Also, I hope when Mythic Plus comes out, I hope it doesn't ruin crafted gear like every other expansion since WoD. It'd be nice to sport farmed, like, built gear. So that's actually where really good news does continue in a way. Mm-hmm. So the primal gear, I believe you can make the basic primal gear like yourself without needing too much extra resources. But that crafted gear, the purple crafted gear that you have to specialize into. When you are doing Mythic dungeons, you will be getting resources that are required to remake that crafted gear at a higher item level. So they've actually designed it such that that purple crafted gear, depending on the difficulty of the content that you're doing, that can be crafted all the way up to Mythic Raid item level. So they very much have made it so that the crafted gear is, it can go right up to any other form of the game, because ultimately it acts as an RNG backstop. Because if you're a raider, and let's just say you clear all the bosses in Heroic, but you get no loot, actually, you'll have still gotten a whole bunch of resources that can go back into your crafted gear.